Evening. Our top story tonight: four more players have been suspended for violating the NFL's gambling policy. Three of those players are suspended for a year at minimum. And we have the right tackle of the Tennessee Titans, who has been suspended for 6 games for placing non NFL bets at an NFL facility. We also have Devontae Parker signing an extension with the New England Patriots, but no, that does not mean they're out on DeAndre Hopkins. And we've got updates on Tyreek Hill, Cam Akers, and more on Player Profiler today. Unfortunately, we have four more suspensions. We knew that a handful of suspensions were coming down the pipe. We knew that Isaiah Rodgers, cornerback for the Indianapolis Colts, was projected to be a starter this year, was a part-time starter over the past 2 seasons, and now he has been suspended for an entire year, and he has been cut by the Indianapolis Colts. Chris Ballard saying that there is no place for this in the NFL. The integrity of the shield is too much. And this is going to be the case for a lot of players. If you haven't noticed, every player, except for two, I believe, but the Lions, both of their players that were suspended for an entire year, they were cut for betting on NFL games. Isaiah Rodgers, Indianapolis Colts, he was cut for betting on NFL games. Rashad Berry, the other Indianapolis Colt, he has been cut for betting on NFL games. It is pretty clear that unless you are a superstar at the level of Calvin Ridley, Shaq Tony hasn't been cut by the Washington Commanders yet, but it's the Commanders. They're in a transition of ownership. I don't really think that Dan Snyder cares about his players gambling, but the next owner probably will and may cut him. But regardless, the NFL is taking a stand. The NFL, first and foremost, cares about the shield. They do not want people questioning whether the games are fixed, because if that conversation starts, then the government gets involved, because the NFL is a monopoly. It is a legal monopoly. The only legal monopolies, the only cartels that are legal in North America are sports. That's it. And that makes sense. But because of that, the government grants certain powers to the NFL and other sports agencies in exchange for saying, hey, you can't collude, you can't fix games, you can't fix price tags on players. You know, you guys, there's a lot of stuff you can't do. And the NFL does a lot of it behind the closed doors. But one of these things, if you're going to have all this power as a legal cartel, you cannot fix games. There can be no question that you are rigging contests. And so now that we have players getting caught gambling on NFL games, they are dropping the hammer because they do not want the government involved, because that just opens up a whole can of worms that the NFL really, really doesn't want. So Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry, both cut by the Indianapolis Colts. Isaiah Rodgers, he's even more interesting because Isaiah Rodgers, most of his bets were $20 up to $35. Majority of the bets were in that range. But with Isaiah Rodgers, he placed a $1,000 bet on the over-under of a Colts running back. It was an individual game, we believe, and he won. He hit. So did he take the under on Zach Moss? Did he take the under on Jonathan Taylor in one of the games he knew he wasn't healthy? Did he take the over on Jonathan Taylor, knowing the game plan? Did he take the under on Deion Jackson, knowing that Zach Moss was going to be the RB2? We don't know, but it does beg questions. Okay, you made all these little small bets, and then when you finally jump up to $1,000, the biggest bet you've placed, it's on a teammate, and you won? That is interesting. That's not just betting your team to win, right? That's a little bit different. There are some inside information there. And so he is being cut by the Indianapolis Colts. Rashad Berry cut by the Indianapolis Colts. Demetrius Taylor, the other player suspended for a full year, he was released by the Lions back in May. So I imagine what happened was this first round of suspensions comes out. They got Jameson Williams, they got Stanley Berryhill, they got CJ Moore, they got Quintez Cephas. They cut everyone but Jamison Williams. And then the Lions probably got word, hey, there's another player, Demetrius Taylor, is involved, undrafted free agent defensive tackle who made the team last year. Lions look at that and say, okay, well, we've already made our decision, so we're just going to cut you, and the story will come out eventually, and we're no longer going to be part of it. The final player, and definitely the most important player that has been suspended, is Nicholas Petit-Frere, the right tackle for the Tennessee Titans, probably the best offensive lineman that the Tennessee Titans have right now, unless you really believe Peter Skoronski day one is the best offensive lineman for the Titans. But NPF was looking like the best player on that O-line. He's going to miss the first 6 games for a Tennessee Titans team that already has a weak offensive line. Andre Dillard, their left tackle, they signed him in free agency, former first rounder for the Eagles, who lost the job. How often is it that a first round pick loses the job? Left guard, they've got Peter Skoronski. Does he slide over to right tackle now to fill in for Nick Petit-Frere? I don't know. They've got Daniel Brunskill, who's probably playing center, or maybe he's playing right guard. It's a mess. It's a mess for the Tennessee Titans, and now they have to make a decision at right tackle while NPF is out. Not great. Not great. The NFL is going to continue to come down hard on players that are caught gambling, especially on NFL games. It will be a year long if you are caught betting on NFL. Nicholas Petit-Frere, he bet on non-NFL games from the facility. He has already issued an apology, but it's still going to cost him 6 games. Do the Titans lose all 6 of those games? Do they start 0-6? Do they move on from Ryan Tannehill? Do they embrace the tank? The answer is probably no to all of that, but we can hope that the Titans embrace the tank. But if you want to know more about the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry, Treylon Burks, or all the other players that are available to be drafted in fantasy football, there's only one place to go: the world famous Draft Kit.
Hey, it's the Podfather. I have great news. The 2023 Draft Kit is live. It is world famous. Why? Because it is the best resource for winning fantasy football championships that exists. There are rankings and cheat sheets for every format you can imagine. We have projections both at the team level and the player level. And wherever you are, you can click on a player, open them up, and see in-depth written analysis about what to expect in fantasy football from that player this year. And then you can click on the team, and you can get even more in-depth analysis, all the drivers of fantasy production, both in a positive and negative direction for that team, including a signature trend. And the graphics are incredible. So these team insights, they give you the team level projections, the vacated targets, the vacated ARs, and that one dynamic for each team that you need to know when making decisions on draft day. And we added a bunch of features. Individual cheat sheets for Theo and Billy and Dario. So you could take your favorite analyst and download their personal draft cheat sheet. And then in the commissioners section, also brand new this year, Memphis Young lays out everything you need to know to manage a league, do's, don'ts, tips, and what the more innovative fantasy commissioners are doing this year. That's presented by Trophy Smack. The whole package is presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship, the FFPC, Ray Garvin, Derek Brown, the best minds in the industry contributing analysis. It's certainly not the most inexpensive draft kit on the market, but it is the best. PlayerProfiler.com/draftkit. PlayerProfiler.com/draftkit. Go get it.
Profiler.com/draftkit. The draft kit is truly amazing. You can see articles or write-ups, whatever you want to call it, on so many different players. I did 10 plus 2 plus I think another I think I did 13 write-ups. I might have done even more than that. I definitely did 2 videos, Jalen Hurts and Isaiah Pacheco. Check that out. And check out the New England Patriots. They're making some moves, making some offers, signing some contracts. Devontae Parker. I could not believe this when I saw it come in. 3 years, $33 million, $14 million guaranteed for Devontae Parker. That's a little over a year's salary because, well, actually, it's probably closer to 2 years' salary because this is worth up to $33 million. It is not worth exactly 33. Devontae Parker will have to hit incentives to reach the full 33 million, but this is a year plus guaranteed for the wide receiver that the Patriots traded a 3rd-round pick for and got Devontae Parker and a 5th rounder, so a 2-round move back for Devontae Parker. Gave him a big deal. And the wide receiver market is just so crazy. You think about this, it's up to $11 million for Devontae Parker, which isn't that what they gave Juju Smith-Schuster? Isn't that what they gave Jacoby Myers? I could be mistaken, but I think they were both $11 million per year. Interesting. But this apparently doesn't preclude the Patriots from signing DeAndre Hopkins, which I found interesting because you would think, well, Devontae Parker, he's now locked in at X. No, they could sign Devontae Parker, or they already signed Devontae Parker. They could sign DeAndre Hopkins. He plays X, and now it's Devontae Parker competing with Tyquan Thornton, competing with Kendrick Bourne as the Z. Or maybe this is a sign that they're actually worried about Juju Smith-Schuster. They're confident in Devontae Parker. Hopkins could play more in the slot, replace Juju, or he could continue to play outside. Just gives them options, I suppose, but I don't know. I don't know if I would have signed Devontae Parker to this contract, but this is Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick does what Bill Belichick wants because he's Bill Belichick. And then we also saw the Patriots extend Jawan Bentley, linebacker, 2-year deal worth up to $8.75 million. That is north of $9 million per year if he gets all of the money, because again, this is up to $8.75 million. That is incentive laden, and $9 million of that is guaranteed. So that's basically the first year and maybe a couple extra million guaranteed in year 2. But Patriots making some moves, signing some extensions. Maybe this free up of money is indeed to sign DeAndre Hopkins to a long-term deal. They need him. They desperately need DeAndre Hopkins. But this Devontae Parker signing just doesn't make sense. Devontae Parker in the final year of his deal. I believe Kendrick Bourne is as well. So, okay. Big picture. Devontae Parker is 3 more years, at least 2 more years. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's at least 2 years, maybe 3 years. He signed for 3. DeAndre Hopkins, they signed him for 3 years. Kendrick Bourne probably walks in free agency. Tyquan Thornton takes a bigger role. So it'll end up being DeAndre Hopkins outside at X, a rotation of Devontae Parker and Tyquan Thornton at Z, depending on what they need. If they need Devontae Parker's size, he'll play. If they need the speed of Tyquan Thornton, he will play. And gives them insurance and depth in case Juju Smith-Schuster or DeAndre Hopkins ends up missing any time, because they have shown some wear and tear towards the back half of their careers. Juju Smith-Schuster, he'll be the starting slot, but he hasn't practiced with the team yet. So that's the big picture, I guess, is to long-term have the quad of Hopkins, Juju, Thornton, and Parker. But if that's a long-term plan, I don't know about that. I don't think it's the best plan for the Patriots, but this is Bill Belichick. He does what he wants, as does Tyreek Hill. No real updates on anything with the Tyreek Hill situation, other than the fact he allegedly offered the alleged victim $200 after the slap to the back of the head, and the NFL has requested video of the Tyreek Hill slap. Now, remember, police have said, the video, it's kind of too hard to tell what's going on. We don't know the lead up to it, but doesn't look like Tyreek Hill will be charged. Doesn't look like he still could be. And even if he's not charged, the NFL can still make a decision on their own. This is just how the NFL works. If you get in the headlines, if you make national news, you could be suspended, even if you are not found guilty. And the Rams have found Cam Akers guilty of being awesome, guilty of being a bell cow back. This is Cam Akers' job to lose. This is something we have stressed over and over and over again. And now we hear it once again that the Rams not only want, but need Cam Akers to be their lead back. This comes from Jordan Rodriguez, beat reporter for the Los Angeles Rams. And this is just confirmation bias. We already knew this was coming, but it is nice how often we are right at Player Profiler. People on Twitter like to flame us. Oh, hot takes, Player Profiler fell off. But for the first part, we're mostly right. So it's not that hot of a take. We're right. And also, they're not watching the shows. They're not getting all the information that you have months ahead of time. Thanks to Player Profiler Today, we are bringing you all sorts of headlines. One headline, Colin Kaepernick still training to play. Duvie Kleiman picked that up earlier today. And I just don't care at this point. I would have loved if Colin Kaepernick got another shot in the NFL. I think he deserved it. I think he was unfairly blackballed. But at this point, I don't see him coming back. JJ Watt has retired. JJ Watt is headed to CBS. This is the same era of player. And I know Colin Kaepernick has not taken the beating that JJ Watt has, but this just seems unlikely. The Raiders had Colin Kaepernick try out last year. Apparently, it went very well. And so if a team did sign him, great. That would be super exciting. I just don't see it happening. The Raiders chose Chase Garbers over Kaepernick. But again, maybe, just maybe, if Jimmy Garoppolo, the foot doesn't heal. We've talked about Carson Wentz. We've talked about Teddy Bridgewater. Could it be Colin Kaepernick, who's tried out for the Raiders in the past, that they sign? Either way, Brian Hoyer is the backup. That is risky business for the Raiders. If anything happens to Jimmy G, Brian Hoyer should not be taking snaps. But anyways, as I mentioned, JJ Watt is headed to CBS. Congratulations to JJ Watt, one of the best of the generation. And speaking of one of the best of the generation, Gronk, Rob Gronkowski. He is not having it with baby Gronk, and especially baby Gronk's dad. He is tired of baby Gronk's dad. He is tired of being hit up 500 times. He's going to send a cease and desist against baby Gronk's dad. Love it. Love to see it. Rob Gronkowski on the right side of history.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out PlayerProfiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.